No audio.
Do you hear me now?
Yeah, there you are.
I don't know what's going on tonight. I couldn't get the video to play. I can't get my microphone's going in and out. I'm a little tired of technical problems.
Do do do
Um,
do 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 do.
yeah. So I don't know if you heard my introduction and or not, but I basically talked about PR as a tool, PR for advertising and marketing. So yeah, so why don't you give us a little bit of a background and on what you're doing and how you think PR can help, how you think PR can help grow sales for startups, for businesses. Again, we've talked about this before. I'm a big proponent of it. I've used it myself. When you see something go viral, it generally didn't just go viral. It's usually a PR firm pushing it. When you hear about things, when you hear about new products, you generally see them in the news, hear about them. So yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting because you and I have had this conversation, Phil, and oftentimes public relations is the most misunderstood of the marketing umbrella. People think, oh, you have to be rich, you have to be Bill Gates or a Kardashian to be able to afford public relations and a publicist. But the most important thing here is public relations gets you press coverage. It gets you editorial coverage in newspapers, magazines, radio, TV, podcasts, blogs, LinkedIn Lives, Facebook Lives. What it does is it has someone else patting you on the back, someone else reporting about you, your business, your service, your product, your book, whatever it is that you have, someone else thinks you are important enough to cover you instead of you talking about you all the time in your content.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what so many companies miss out on is that they said, oh, I have great content. Well, that's great. But isn't it better when you have what's in essence an editorial endorsement, third party editorial coverage that is evergreen, that you can use over and over again? And I think that's where public relations has fit into the marketing mix always, but more so now that we are getting our content from so many different online methods, social media methods, word of mouth methods. But that word of mouth coming from a journalist, whether it's a professional journalist or a homegrown journalist, is giving that recognition to your business
Yeah.
so that your business can drive sales because of that coverage.
Yeah. I've told the story before about what we did in the razor company and how we basically launched because we were going for about a year doing all the things we should be doing traditional marketing, creating ads, doing social media posts. This is going back about 12 years ago. And it wasn't getting us what we needed. It wasn't getting us anything. And what I came up with an idea. This is a blend of PR and stunts. But I came up with this idea because I'm a sports fan, and when I get up in the morning, as I drink coffee, I read my phone and I read all the news. And there was a pitcher named Brian Wilson who had a beautiful beard, epic beard. He was a great pitcher, played for the San Francisco Giants, and he got Tommy John surgery, got injured. They traded him to the Dodgers. He was going to pitch for the first time in a year. And so I sent a message. I had a brilliant idea, and I sent a message to his management. I got their email somehow, and I sent a message saying, I want to pay Brian Wilson $1 million to shave with our razor. And all we needed was for him to respond back, or his people to respond back saying, we'll discuss it. That's all I care about. So then we took that, gave it to the PR firm and said, we're in discussions with Brian Wilson, shave with our razor for $1 million. Well, and it blew up everywhere. We were on TV, we were in the news, we were everywhere. But it wouldn't have happened if the PR firm didn't push it out, right? Because then I would have just been saying, okay, we're doing it. I would have given it to the local news, probably got on some local news, but we were all over the place internationally. And then it blew up on social media because then people were outraged that we would pay somebody who's already making millions of dollars, that we would pay them $1 million to shave with our razor. And the second problem was that, or not problem, but the second thing that happened was people were sending us pictures on social media and saying, I'll shave this for 10,000, I'll shave this for 5,000. And it got to be this whole thing because then the news was picking that up, and it lasted for about 10 days. We were being interviewed constantly, sports shows.
And that's the thing, to come up with an idea, and some ideas might be a gimmick like that, and others could be breaking news. But for instance, I represented a lot of clients in the as seen on TV category, infomercial products. And we came up with an idea, why don't we do pitchathons?
Yeah.
So it was kind of like Shark Tank-ish, but the goal was twofold. Number one, for the client to meet potential inventors of products so that they can bring those products to market.
Yeah.
My end, of course, was to secure press in different markets so that people were more aware of the products of my client and where they could buy the products. And so we traveled all across the country and secured press coverage locally and nationally on an ongoing basis. Are you coming to my town? Are you coming to my town? And we were doing these events, and the client ended up finding some great products that they brought to market. But the most important element was keeping the client relevant and in the news.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's important about today's world, is that you're going to remember something. Everyone wants their 15 minutes, but maybe you'll remember something for a day or two, but then there's something else that happens in the news in your old news. Yeah. So unless an effective public relations person or agency is out there consistently telling a story about you or your company, your service, your product, your book, what have you, then who's remembering you?
Yeah.
And if you, the company, aren't using all that content on your social media, and I say to people, keep it evergreen. Use it on your social media today when the story breaks. Use it in a week or two, 3 months, 6 months, 10 months. I posted something on my social media, an article I was featured in about 2 years ago. I decided to post it recently. The amount of engagement I got on my social media on the content of that interview that I was featured in, discussing public relations and my angles for public relations, I could not get over how many people engaged, and 2 people reached out to me for new business that hadn't talked to me in ages. And so use the content, but you need to have consistent content, because I'm not the average person. I'm going to look at dates on things. The average person isn't looking at dates on things, but you've got to be, I'm corny, you've got to be in it to win it. And if you're not out there doing something, and with an event, and one story I had was I was doing a big event. I was a baby PR person. I was doing this event in a suburb of Washington, D.C. I'm dating myself now. It was at a middle school. And that day, all of my press canceled because the president of the United States was going to visit the other middle school. And I lost all of my press. But that's what's important to note. If you're doing an event and that's the day you're doing it, you have to do it for a second reason. Yeah. And my as seen on TV product client, the second reason was that they would secure products.
Yeah.
So we had that second reason just in case things happen in the world.
Yeah.
And then we know things get canceled because breaking news is happening. So make sure that your event isn't just targeted to one day, one time, but doing an ongoing campaign gives you that recognition on an ongoing basis, whether you are doing an interview, whether you're having your product reviews, whether you're providing a quote for an article or an email interview for an online article. Keep consistency on an ongoing basis. And that's why I talk to my clients and I say, you've really got to start with 6 months to a year of a public relations campaign. It can't be a one and done because things change all the time.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's another, in my opinion, it's another tool in the tool belt of marketing, and it's measurable. and it gives you the ability. It drives sales. It drives business awareness. So, another great example was back when we were doing, which was a little bit easier. We were doing Raw Essentials with Carol Alt. It was a beauty brand that we founded, and we were on Home Shopping Network, and we were about to launch, and they rolled out a huge PR event with their people to do the launch, to help with the launch. And it was amazing because we saw immediately, before we even launched on HSN, we saw immediately the impact, and not only the fact that we were in the press, but people were ready, waiting for the show. And so once the show came on, we had all this hype built up. Then when we entered Canada, we were at the shopping channel in Canada, but then retailers started calling, and one was Shoppers Drug Mart up there, which was the big beauty retailer, and they put together this whole PR event. And we went from Montreal to Ottawa to Toronto to all these different cities, and it was tremendous because it really launched the product. So they put PR before they did any other marketing programs. Like, they weren't saying to us, "We want you to run ads. We want you to run ads online. We want you to do all these things." No, it was all about this PR event, so that we were in all these women's focused beauty magazines, which was great.
And I think the thing that's important about PR and about the world, I was talking to someone who found me on LinkedIn today, and we had a wonderful new business call, but we were having this whole discussion about long lead, and magazines have long lead. So if you want a PR person to pitch you for long lead glossy magazines, you've got to start for the Christmas Hanukkah season. You've got to start June 1st. You're talking about swimwear season. You have to start in November. Healthy Heart Month is in February, so you better start that maybe in September, October. So you've got to work differently when it comes to glossy magazines that are monthlies.
Yeah.
But today there's so much content that is available more, I'll say more immediately, but it still takes time. Even when you're booking someone as a guest on a podcast, you can book them that they'll appear on the podcast for the taping in 2 or 3 weeks, but that may not get slotted in to run for 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's important that you kind of have that stream going, so that you have all of these elements of a campaign that might not be driven by events, because so many people are not doing events because they don't have the budgets to do events anymore.
Yeah.
But more people are returning to trade shows, and there are opportunities for press at trade shows before, during, and after. So there are all these opportunities to get a message out there. But how you use it afterwards is really part of the mix. And at Andrea Pass Public Relations, I stay in my lane, which is securing the press coverage. So I'm not the one that's out there doing the social media, even though I'm recommending it. Or creating marketing materials, because in today's world, I don't need those materials. Press kits are antiquated.
Yeah.
Any PR firm that tells you I start with a press kit, I'll work on that for the first month. Yeah. No, that's ridiculous. I started on a client about an hour ago. I've already formulated an email pitch and sent it to 5 of my strong contacts. By the time I get off this call with you, I'm sure I will have heard back from at least one of those to book an interview.
Yeah.
No one wants to wait. We are in this hurry up world. We want instant gratification. And so an effective PR campaign is going to get you noticed. If you're a startup, what a great investment in PR, because more people will learn about you. And that's what's important. How are they learning about you? Start somewhere.
Yeah.
And so start with public relations to get noticed. But the things that you need, so can I give some tips? Is that okay?
Good, Brian.
All right. So a few things you need. You're a startup, you're a new business, you're a small business, whatever it is. You need an updated website. Okay? You're not ready to roll till people can find you on a website
Yeah.
and engage with you to hire you, whether it's a service, whether it's a book, whether it's a nonprofit, whether it's a product. It's got to have a website photography. You need good photography. If you are the spokesperson, you need some great professional headshots. They don't cost that much.
Right.
Don't have your spouse or your child take a picture of you against a wall. Nobody wants that image. Also, don't use an image that's really outdated. I had a client who was quite a bit older than his headshot. And I said to him, you need new headshots. I said, people are going to meet you on an interview, on a Zoom, on a podcast, and they're going to see you are not that age. And he would not update his headshots. And they didn't match with what the video was because he had them taken 20 years earlier. Invest in a headshot, invest in product photography. Social media, everyone, you must have active social media. Journalists want to know that you are going to share their article on yours, your social, and tag them. They want to know that you have not only followers, but you have engagement. So, quite honestly, if that means your team at work or your relatives or your best friends, start somewhere and get engagement on social media so that when a public relations person, such as myself, is sharing with the press, these are your social media pages, they're going to see there's activity. If there's no activity for 6 months, why would anyone want to engage with you? They want, what's in it for me? We live in the what's in it for me world. So there's got to be something in it for the journalist, the media outlet, because you're going to share and tag them. And then what's in it for you? They're interviewing you and including you. So these elements are quite important when you're taking on a public relations campaign.
Yeah. I'll even go one step further and say what you really need to think about is what is your core point of difference? Because when you think about the press, they get pitched constantly. And so you need something from them for them that is relevant and that they want to talk about. And yeah, what I did with Brian Wilson was a bit of a stunt,
Yeah.
but it worked. And I'm all for stunts. I have a friend who wrote a book called The Unnoticed Entrepreneur, and his whole point is about using PR, and he does stunts. His one of his first things that he did to try and get noticed when he started a business was he jumped out of an airplane, and he jumped out of the airplane at some event carrying some signage, and that got him noticed. And from there, he sort of built on that. But you have to have something to give, because if you just go out there with the same old widget, okay, I have a new bottled water. Well, there's got to be something different about that bottled
Yes.
water. It's got to be functional. It's got to do something so that people want to talk about it. Because if you're just saying, why can't you get me press because I have this new water? Sometimes.
Yeah. And you've got to come up right now. I'm representing, of all things, a funeral home. Okay. A funeral home. But the amount of press I'm getting, even though they're based in the Philadelphia area, and obviously you do tend to deal with a local funeral home based on the cemetery you'll be buried at, but we are speaking nationally about the topic of pre-planning your funeral to help your loved ones. But what's the catch? How are people responding? My opening line of my pitch is, according to Ben Franklin, the only thing for certain are taxes and death.
Yeah.
And the amount of response I get from that, and then talking about how talking about death is not taboo. And I have a woman funeral home director who is very attractive. And people think, oh, funeral home directors are kind of frumpy old men. Well, no, they could be attractive women. And so by having this angle, the amount of coverage we're getting, and it's interesting because so many people say to me, I've never spoken to a funeral director.
Yeah.
And so they're open to this conversation, but I'm taking it from a different a different angle. I have a new client, like I mentioned, that just started earlier today, and she does social media. But we're discussing the differentiators in her social media campaigns versus the other guy. So you're right. What's your differentiator? You got a new flavored water. Well, what is it about your flavored water that's the differentiator? When I talk about myself as Andrea Pass Public Relations, my differentiator is that I don't hire anyone. I don't have any newbies. I don't have any interns. I do the work myself. And by day 2 of the account, you're already getting booked on interviews. I'm not dilly dallying. I'm in communication. And I think I had 2 clients last year who left their PR firms that they were paying for months on end who did nothing. What the heck? They did nothing. Why were you continuously paying their retainer? Because they were trying. No, I'm not into the trying thing. If I can't achieve something, I will tell you why, and we'll move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And something will be achieved that will give you press coverage that you can use. So I think that the same way that our clients need to figure out the differentiator, we do as business people, as well. And I mean, I had a client that I got to speak at a library. It wasn't part of what I did, but it was just a very interesting topic. And I said, can I reach out to this library in your community? I think this would be a great. They filled the room. Totally unrelated to what I normally do, but it was a great topic. And finding those things, and I joke, and you and I have joked about this. My tagline on LinkedIn: I'm your PI in PR. I'm a private investigator looking for the next public relations opportunity. But that's the thing. You can research and look for new things and do things differently and taking a different approach to have people learn about your business, why you and not the next guy or gal.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, like I said, PR is just, to me, it's another form of marketing. It's another form of advertising, another form of getting the message out. But like you said before, you're essentially, when you think about influencers on social media, they're not the be all end all. You get an influencer on social media, they have a few hundred followers, few thousand followers, maybe a couple of 100,000 followers. But when you get an article, you get somebody like the Wall Street Journal or somebody like that to do an article on you, do an interview, you get, a magazine, something with some heft behind it, you're looking at millions of people. And that content is evergreen, and that content gives you credibility. Whenever I get interviewed for anything, I get interviewed by modern retail or companies about, Amazon or about e-commerce selling or marketing or whatever. I take the link. Not only do I put it on social, but I put it on the website,
Yeah.
because it's if you're coming to our website, if you're coming to Crunch Growth and you want to know if you should hire us, and what's the credibility? When you start looking at all these articles from the Wall Street Journal or from Fortune or from Forbes, not silly little blogs, but some reporter reaching out and talking to us about a subject, it goes to credibility.
But I'll kind of call you out on saying silly little blogs, because here's the story, okay? The same week, I had Huffington Post review a product for a client, do a story, and a mom blog. So Huffington Post, 1.5 million unique views a month, mom blog, 900. 0 click-throughs from Huffington Post, 50 sales day 1 from the mom blog. So you have to realize that we're wearing so many hats in our world. I mean, I'm talking to you today as a public relations professional, but I love traveling. I mean, I play mahjong. I'm in a book club. So there are so many aspects to us that go beyond our businesses, that to reach people where they're engaging might be that smaller blog, because those are people who are going to take action. And so that's important to note, that it can't always be the Wall Street Journal, and not everyone is Wall Street Journal worthy. I had someone call me up, can you get me an article in the Wall Street Journal? I said, no, let's build you up. Oh, but I have 150,000 followers on my social media. Well, they had no engagement. They obviously bought followers. There was no story whatsoever. I said, I can get you press for your business, but let's start with, and he didn't want to hear anything, of it. And to this day, there's no engagement on his social media. But if that's okay and he can grow his business that well, hey, more power to you. But I'm not going to claim that each person is going to be featured on Good Morning America or CNN or the New York Times. But to be featured in a trade publication is important for your audience, or a parenting publication if you have a parenting topic, or a food publication if you have a new food product. But understanding where those buyers, customers, clients are, they're at lots of different places, because I don't know about you, I still read the throwaway newspaper on my driveway every week because I want to know what's happening in my hometown.
It was a bad choice. I'm glad I teed it up.
I called you out on it, Phil.
But I'm glad I teed it up for you to go on that rant, because it's sort of counter to to what I tell our clients, which is I'd rather have 1,000 smaller influencers that have 2,000 or 3,000 followers than one that has 1,000,000. But so I sort of stuck my own foot in my mouth. But I'm glad I teed it up for you to go on that rebuttal.
Well, thank you so much for doing so.
Yeah. So, no, I agree with you. I think that you have to know who your audience is, and there's opportunities everywhere for it.
And don't discount the organizations you are a member of.
Yeah.
Because many organizations have ways for you to promote, publicize yourself and your business. Become a speaker for those organizations. Find out if they have a newsletter or a magazine. Offer to write a bylined article. Offer to just send them information. I'm in a national organization called the Performance Driven Marketing Institute. I've been involved in this organization for a long, long time. It's the direct response television industry. And when I have news to share, they'll include it in their newsletter, which is a great time for me to say my book, Heart-Centered Marketing, just came out last week, all about marketing tips, proven strategies that naturally attract and nurture clients. And so when the book came out, I asked the Performance Driven Marketing Institute, will you include this in your newsletter? Well, I chair a committee. I'm very active. They included it in their newsletter with the link to purchase the book. So don't discount the organizations that you're in, because each one can give you a public relations opportunity because you are a member of that organization. So everyone's a touch point. It's all PR. And I speak frequently about how networking is PR and PR is networking. Making sure that when you're out there networking, I have a name badge with a magnetic back with my logo that I wear at networking events. I don't wear that silly stick-on piece of tape. And people say, oh, what a nice badge. And my name, Andrea, in big letters. That's part of public relations. Making sure when you're on the screen, you have the full name of your company, Andrea Pass Public Relations, when you can have your logo or your book or your product on the screen. These are all public relations opportunities in networking. So that's another way to grow your business using PR, increase recognition for your startup using PR, because each is an opportunity, and you never know who is on the screen that might be a writer, might have a blog, might have a podcast. You never know.
Yep. You're 100%. Yeah. So, so you didn't explain the book though, because it's not really, you didn't author the whole thing. So explain the book a little bit, because I think that's interesting.
Yeah. So it's Heart-Centered Marketing. It is an anthology book. We have 21 women in marketing categories who've written things about advertising, marketing, graphic design. I, of course, wrote about driving sales using public relations. So all topics that are focused on that marketing umbrella. But certainly we're saying heart centered because when you work with a woman who is feeling it in her heart, it's a different approach. And I know that my approach today might be different than what my approach was 15 years ago. And I want to work with clients who I know, like, and trust. And they want to work with me because they know, like, and trust me. So I think all of the authors in Heart Centered Marketing, which was put out by Highlander Press and edited by Deborah Keevan and Jill Celeste, really offers these insights into what are the steps you should take in marketing, whether it's your book or your product or your coaching business or your nonprofit or whatever your kind of business is from that entrepreneurial standpoint. So it's women entrepreneurs helping other women entrepreneurs. And we've seen this influx of female entrepreneurship over the last 2 or 3 years, and it continues to grow and grow, which is a wonderful thing.
Yeah, it is. I unfortunately haven't had as many women entrepreneurs on as men. We actively look for them, but they're not that easy to find. And we find a lot in the marketing side and social media, but that's sort of traditional. We I had, but I'd love to see more women on the show because it's they have a different perspective, I think, and a lot of the categories that they tend to build their businesses in are categories that are underserved on the show, like especially in, so for example, fashion, accessories, beauty products, personal care, those types of things. Yes, women are in
Yeah.
all kinds of other categories, and we've had them on for marketing and social media, advertising, graphic design and things like that. But not enough in the other categories. And I personally like the beauty category a lot. I think that I enjoyed it when we were building Raw Essentials with Carol Alt. I loved that, and I liked the shaving category when we were doing razors. I think that those categories are fantastic. I love, I love just how people respond to it, how women respond to it, and how they'll try, women and men will try anything if you tell them that it will make them or has the potential to make them more beautiful. Women and men. It doesn't matter, right? In the shaving category, if you tell men that you're going to get a closer shave and it's going to be beautiful. And if you remember those commercials from when we were in the shaving category, we looked at all these old commercials. We bought I forget there was a website that we bought a subscription to that had all these old commercials from the 50s and 60s and 70s. And there was Joe Namath.
Joe Namath, that's exactly the one I was thinking
Face
of.
rubbed by a woman after he shaved. And it was the first, I think it was the first two-blade razor. And there was the injector razor and all these other razors. And it was a blast to watch, but it was always men shaving and then women rubbing their faces.
Yeah, but I think part of the fun of certain categories, and I know you enjoying those beauty categories, and I've done my share of beauty and fashion and jewelry and accessories, but those as seen on TV gadgets, from the pet egg to the Be Active brace and more, were so exciting. But I think so one of the most fun times I had was I represented Chef Wolfgang Puck, and he had a pressure oven, and we were rolling out this pressure oven. And one of the fun times we were down at HSN in Florida, and I was allowed to create a press event and invite all of this press into the green room where all the food he was cooking on TV on HSN was then brought to the green room, and we were eating and eating. The food was amazing. And then the producer came in and said, Andrea, we're allowing you to come in studio for the last 10 minutes. So I bring all of the press in studio. We're live. He's cooking. And he points over to me. Of course, he knows my name. I'm his PR person. And he says, young lady, please come on camera with me. What is your name? Andrea. Andrea, because Wolfgang always called me Andrea. He says, try my turkey that was made in my Wolfgang Puck pressure oven. And I said, Chef Puck, I cannot get over how well this is cooked and how moist this is. Your Wolfgang Puck pressure oven is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And so there I was live on HSN. And, later I'm talking to my husband or my parents, from my trip in Florida. I said, oh, yeah, I ended up live on HSN today. You didn't tell us, we would have watched. And I said, well, I didn't know. And everybody that I was with, all of the press said, how did you know you were going on? No. How did you hit all the talking points? I said, well, I know the talking points. So I made sure I repeated the name of the product. I discussed how moist the turkey was, how it was totally cooked in such a short amount of time. But, there are all these things that you can do and experiences that you've had in your career, whether it's working with Carol Alt, whether it's working with the Razor, whether it's, I'm working on Folk Revival hot cereal, which is made with acorns of all things. So it's a new product, but it's so much fun because no one knows about it yet. And I'm telling them. So it's just an exciting thing that no matter what you're working on, and for me, I get giddy. I admit, I become a little kid every time a press placement comes out for a client. No matter what size it is, whether it's a newspaper, a glossy magazine, it's TV, it's radio, it's a podcast, it's a blog, I get this stupid grin on my face because I'm getting my email together, all the links together to send to the client. And I know it's out there because I'm the one that did the work.
Yeah.
And it feels so good to be able to do the work on different types of, I'm working on this book, Text Messages to My Sons, Connecting Deeply in a World of Devices. And here's this woman who started communicating with her adult sons via these text messages that are about mindfulness and positivity and gratitude. And her sons talked her into putting it into a book.
Yeah.
And so I know that she's thrilled with the press. She's doing interviews every other day. I'm keeping her too busy. She said, you got to give me 2 weeks off. I'm too busy. But I look at these things and how they're affecting a business. And last year I was working on a book about mental health for high schoolers and some of the things that parents need to do, because high school mental health issues, unfortunately, have skyrocketed and parents need to be aware. And so at the end of the first round of the campaign, I said to her, do you want to continue? She says, you're not letting me breathe. I have too many interviews and now I have too many clients and I have no time for anything. So you've overdone it. And I'm thinking, gosh darn it, I'm doing my job. But it got her the account for the next book. It filled up her business. She ended up moving to a larger space. And so public relations worked, whether you are a local therapist or a national product. But if you're not out there doing all of this and sharing all of this and sharing it again and again and speaking publicly or telling your public relations person you're speaking at an event or you're going to be at a conference. And you have to remember, we as public relations people, we don't know information unless you share it with us.
Yeah.
And so I used to love in the days that I would go to meetings in a car with my client and the client would be on the phone and I'd be sitting in there. And afterwards I would say to the client, you never mentioned that. Can I run with that? Like, here's news you have to tell us because I never took mind reading 101 in college. So in order for a good public relations person to get the message out, tell us what's so unique about you. And one of my clients owns a virtual assistant company, River City Virtual Assistants, and she is a survivor of burnout. And so the owner, Katie, created this virtual assistant company to help others not get burnt out because they had virtual assistants that are U.S. college educated, many of whom are moms that want to work part-time. And she found a way to have a business successfully. But I wouldn't have had a great story. Okay, it's a virtual assistant company. But when I found out she survived burnout, she wants to help others survive burnout, and her virtual assistants are U.S. based and college educated. Well, that's the differentiator.
Sure.
And I think we all have those stories of who we worked with over our careers that had those differentiating features. So whether it's the local mom and pop outlet or it's internationally known Chef Wolfgang Puck, there's everything in between.
Yeah, I think. Well, I loved HSN. I love doing work on HSN. I think the shopping channel business is exciting. You know, direct response. I've done some things with direct response, and it's okay. You can have a lot of fun with it. But I did like HSN, the QVC HSN model. I think that that's a lot of fun. I enjoyed our time doing that. But yeah, it's you have to come up with a way to get noticed in this world. You have to have something. It's not just I have a like you said, I have a personal assistant or virtual assistant business, or I have an online bookkeeping business and I need press. Okay, well, what's different about your bookkeeping business? What's the core point of differentiation? And a lot of times startups don't think about that. They're just they're just Me Too companies. And when you're a Me Too company, and even when you're a Me Too product, see, we work with a lot of companies that want to get their product into retail, into brick and mortar retail, because we primarily do e-commerce. But I do know a lot about brick and mortar retail and a lot of experience with it. If you're a Me Too product and you say, well, I've got this pasta sauce and I want to go in and I want to get my pasta sauce in, well, there's only this much space in there. There's only so much space on that shelf, which means something has to come out. You're going to go to the buyer's going to say, this has to come out. So what is different? Because I know what this section of pasta sauce delivers to me financially. Now you want to come in, you're an unknown, but what's different about your pasta sauce? If your pasta sauce is made by a great chef like Wolfgang Puck, well, that's different. That's promotable because it's a known name. But if it's just another pasta sauce and the only thing that's good about it was that you came up with a fancy name, you're going to have a struggle getting that product in.
Yeah, and I think that it's coming up with the differentiator and realizing what's not a differentiator. And I had a conversation, oh, and I donated proceeds to XYZ local charity. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
You should be commended for that. However, that's not the PR hook because in today's world, everyone should give back to charity.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't have to publicize that you gave back to charity. And if we're able, I donate to charity. I'm sure you donate to charity. We give back. But you don't need to be publicized for giving back. It's one thing if you are, I know I'm in New Jersey and there was a soup kitchen that recently burned down. There was a fire. And the community all stepped up and did the soup kitchen outside. And that was a great story. That's different. But a corporation going in and giving to a charity, do it. Do it because it's the right thing to do. Don't do it because you're getting press on giving back to XYZ charity. And it should be part of your marketing plan. Cause-related marketing should be in your marketing plan. Have it on your website. Have it in your materials. But don't expect a press pat on the back because you're giving back when you should. And so I'm not a big believer in those kind of things for press, but I'm a big believer in cause-related marketing and supporting because everyone needs help. So help others.
I the exception to that is when you have something like a Bombas where where they, for every sold, every
totally different.
Yeah, that's different than saying I just contribute to charity. You're 100% right when you build it in. But of course, a lot of those companies, you have to be careful because, well, they have to be careful, I should say, from an entrepreneurial standpoint. Like you look at Tom Shoes and the financial trouble that they got into with it. I think Bombas did it a little bit better, but but you're 100% right. If you just think that your core competency is I donate to a soup kitchen, that's why I should get press. Well, that's not going to happen.
No, that's all well and good. And certainly if it's, Breast Cancer Awareness Month or Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month, and you have a connection or you're helping with something, yeah, add that to your website, add it to your social media, but it's not press.
No.
In the olden days, I'm aging myself, but in the olden days, those kind of things when you supported the Susan Komen, when we're donating and they would have their media tour, their satellite media tour, and the product would be on the table because they did a pink this, that was different, but they're not doing those things anymore. So get with the times. And the other thing I'd like to mention, although I have a strong dislike for pay to play press, a lot of press has become pay to play.
Yeah.
And you could ignore it. You could get by ignoring it, but there are opportunities when, for instance, you haven't done a video interview and you can do a paid video interview where you decide the questions because you've paid for it, and therefore you can rehearse.
Yeah.
And that way you have content that you could chop up and use on your website and in your social media campaigns. Or if it's a magazine where all the editorial is pay to play, which means it's advertorial, but at least you won't be left out if it's reaching the right audience. But if you receive an email, which so many companies receive, we can get you featured on this show. And we researched you and we want you on this show. Well, if you haven't done your homework, this show that airs at 2 a.m. on the D-level station in Utah is $30,000 plus production fees. And so are you getting enough from your $30,000 when you could hire someone to do PR for way less than that to get you on TV and radio and what have you? So pay attention. I just had a client today that a magazine reached out and said, "Oh, feature me on your magazine. It'll cost this amount." I said, "No, we'll skip it."
Yeah. So we're running out of time. We went a little bit too long.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's all right. We've got we have to wrap it up about a minute. So any parting last words for up and coming entrepreneurs or people that need PR or how to think about PR or people that want to talk about PR?
You got to be in it to win it. And so make sure public relations is part of your marketing mix, and feel free to reach out to me at AndreaPassPR.com.
And how else can they get in touch with you? Just through AndreaPass.com?
Andrea Pass PR, or I'm on LinkedIn, Andrea Pass. I'm on Facebook, Andrea Pass Public Relations. I'm on Instagram, Andrea Pass PR. So touch base with me, because there's a way to get press for your company, and let's do it. And when is the right time to start? Today.
Yeah.
Folks that put it off, don't put it off.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got to wrap it up. Thanks for being on. Thanks for taking the time to come on. I enjoyed having you. I enjoyed the discussion. I'm glad I was able to make a mistake and tee up your, give you some more fire for your fodder. So,
well, thank you for having me, Phil. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. All right. I have a couple of things to close up with, so we'll see you later.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks. Bye. So again, PR. You've heard. I've said it a bunch of times on here about PR. I think that it's essential to any business. I think that it's just another tool. It's another marketing tool. It's another amplification tool. It's another way to get your brand out there and get your brand noticed. And I've talked about it a number of times on the show about how I've used it in the past, and I have no problem telling you exactly what the return was, because I think the returns are tremendous when you look at the input versus the output. So again, if you need some PR, go to AndreaPassPR.com, go to her website. She's a pro. She's been in the industry for quite some time. She knows a lot of people. And that's the other thing. You always want a PR firm that has the contacts or knows how to get the contacts and how to spin the story and how to put the pieces together. So, and then on a personal note, again, you can go to philmasiello.com, go in the top right corner of the website. You can download a free planning book. You can go to crunchgrowth.com, and we've got a great download that we just put up about marketing for the 2024, which is fantastic. We also did a new piece, which I'm going to put as a download on here next week about connected TV, because we've been doing a lot of things with connected TV, streaming videos on connected TV, or streaming commercials on connected TV. And if you've ever done television advertising, it's not like that at all, because it's very quantifiable. You can see exactly the results, because you think about it, it's connected TV, so you know who's logged into Netflix, you know who's logged into to the Samsung Smart TV, so you know who they are, you know their demographics, you know exactly everything, so you know who you're delivering a video or a commercial directly to that person, so you can tailor it for that. And the other thing about it is, in this day and age, we're able to get in for a nominal fee. I mean, $5,000, I think, is the minimum to do it and test it and see how it works. But what we're seeing, we've been doing it for about a year for other clients and brands, is tremendous returns. And you can also do it on Amazon. So if you've got an Amazon product you're selling on Amazon, your brand, you can run connected TV ads, put a QR code into the ad, and people can click the code and buy right there on Amazon, which is highly convertible and is happening. So a lot of great things happen in the marketing world, a lot of great things happen in the entrepreneurial world, and we'll keep you updated. Thanks for joining us tonight. We went a little bit long. I'm going a little fast with the ending, but we've got to wrap it up here. So join us next week. We've always got some interesting people coming on. We try and make the show interesting, and we try and make it lighthearted and fun so that you get something out of it, but you also enjoy it. Again, have a good night, and we'll see you next week.